Once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
What's going on YouTube? Diggy546. Hit that subscribe button if you want more sports content. Like the video if you like the video. And I won't tell if you click that bell. But let's go ahead and get into this. So I've been seeing a lot of things about Jadeveon Clowney, about Yannick Ngakoue. Particularly Giants fans have been saying that Jadeveon Clowney's coming to the Giants and the Giants are interested and blah, blah, blah. We cut Nate Solder. We should trade for Ngakoue. The Jaguars aren't going to budge. I mean, this is my opinion on this. For Clowney, yes, Clowney he's a good pass rusher. He's a good pass rusher. He's dominant against the run. He's like a souped up version, in my opinion, of Olivier Vernon, except a billion times more athletic. He's a disruptor. He can make his presence felt. But is he Khalil Mack? Is he Von Miller? If he was, he would have already been signed. It's just that plain and simple. I understand what's been going on in the world, but there's a delay, but there's not that much of a delay because we saw so many people get signed. He had a great season with Seattle in the playoffs specifically, but other than that, his entire career, he's been underperforming. Yeah, he had a few decent seasons, but you got to realize this dude was playing across from J.J. Watt, getting single team, while J.J. Watt was winning Defensive Players of the Year, and he couldn't make his presence felt consistently. So that's something to be concerned about. And the dude has a history of injury. So you say, well, that doesn't matter. We're just bringing him in for 1 year. But for what? Do you guys realize that cap space rolls over? We just drafted another person in the top 5. So that's another $8 million off of the books. We have Saquon making $8 million. He's already like top 5 paid running backs in the league already. We have Andrew Thomas that just got drafted. DeAndre Baker's, he might come off of the books, but the thing is we're paying a lot of first round picks. We have Dexter Lawrence. Evan Ingram is coming up. I'm one of the guys, I want to keep Evan Ingram because I see how important the tight end is, and we have a dynamic tight end. All he needs to do is stay healthy, which hopefully he can do this season. We have Saquon coming up. This deal has to get done this upcoming year. And the cap space rolls over, like I said. If you don't use this Nate Solder extra cap space, that cap space rolls over the next year. If you want to be able to have the cap space, maybe Daniel Jones does something crazy this year. You just want cap space moving forward to roll forward, because with this thing happening in the world, fans aren't going to be in the stands. So if they're not going to be in the stands, the salary cap is going to drop at least $20 million. With a reduced salary cap, it makes a lot of sense, in my opinion, to use as much of your free and cleared up money to go in the next year. Now, unless you're signing somebody like Logan Ryan to a 3-year deal, because we don't know what's going to happen with DeAndre Baker, the master criminal, the guy who pulls up in Lambos and Bentleys and Mercedes and BMWs, you know, with other professional sports players and other rich people to go rob some people for money that he can make in one game. That dude, we don't know what's going to happen with him. So we're not sure about that. So I wouldn't be mad about us spending that money on Logan Ryan for a multi-year deal. But as far as just getting the money and just throwing it to somebody for a year, why? That's not going to be helpful. Because I made a video, check this out. I made a video 2 months ago predicting the Giants win-loss record, and I had us as a playoff contender. I had us winning, I think, 10 games. So many people came under that comment section and they typed, "You're a homer, 6 wins at best, 5 wins at best. We're going 4-12. We're going to be worse than we were last year." All of this stuff down there. And this wasn't hate. These were Giants fans typing this. These were Giants fans. They just weren't confident in their team. So that's cool. But if you don't think that we're going to the playoffs, then why are you clamoring to sign someone for a 1-year deal who's not Von Miller, who's not Khalil Mack? Why are you clamoring for that? It doesn't make sense. You're bringing them here just so you can see something cool for a year and not make the playoffs. Because if we're 5-11, 6-10 without Clowney, what are we with Clowney? What, 8-8? Because a stat that I will continue to bring up is if you cannot cover. This isn't technically a stat because I don't have the numbers in front of me, but teams that cannot cover, that don't have corners but have pass rushers, yeah, they get a lot of sacks and it looks pretty, but if they don't have people who can cover, they give up points, they give up yards. So that's something that you have to realize. If we don't have anybody back there covering, and say Clowney has a breakout year, has 16 sacks. The Bucs had a guy that threw 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns. And on defense, they had a guy who had, 19, 20 sacks? And they didn't make the playoffs last year because they couldn't cover anybody and they were in constant shootouts and the quarterback turned the ball over all the time. If you cannot cover, all that other stuff doesn't matter. So if you're going to use the money, put it towards a veteran offensive lineman, put it towards a corner, but throwing it at Clowney for a year doesn't make much sense. Now on to Yannick Ngakoue. Ngakoue is a good pass rusher. He's good. Is he Von Miller? Is he Khalil Mack? Is he Myles Garrett? No, he's not. So to give up more than a first-round pick for that guy doesn't make any sense. We have a young quarterback. We have a young running back. We have a young offensive core at this point. We have a young left tackle. We need to build the defense in the draft. This is the time to build the defense in the draft and not to be trading future first-round picks for a guy that's a good pass rusher that is probably going to get you 10 sacks a year. And you're trading up. I mean, you need someone who's going to take over a game. You need someone who's going to take over who can get your whole team on a run because he's that good. And there's nobody that hasn't been traded for, because if he was that good, people would have given up what the Jaguars wanted. So to trade all of that for Yannick Ngakoue, it makes no sense. Now, if they're reducing it, maybe it's just one first-round pick, maybe you think about it. But they're asking for multiple first-round picks just because of his position and just because he's an above-average player. He's a solid above-average player. If you want to just get someone who's going to get you 10 sacks, sign Everson Griffin. Just sign him. You guys have to realize, if we sign Clowney to a 1-year deal and he has a great season, of course Giants fans are going to want him to come back. You know what that means? We're going to have to pay him over $20 million. You know what that means for Ngakoue once this franchise tag runs off? You're going to have to pay him over $20 million. Myles Garrett and Joey Bosa just got paid upwards of $20 million. So with the falling salary cap, with Daniel Jones' contract coming up in 2 years, we're going to have to pay Saquon 15, at least 16, at least next year. With Evan Ingram, if he has a good year, we're going to have to pay him something. Will Hernandez is coming up. What if he breaks out? You have all of these young players. Dalvin Tomlinson has been getting better every year. All of these young players, they're not going to get paid because where's the money? If we get a young pass rusher in the draft next year, or even sign one in free agency next year, when we just have the money, which will probably be at a reduced rate because next year people they're not going to be going cap crazy as far as spending money because they won't have it. Because everybody wants to win now and they're not thinking about next year. So if the Giants roll this money over, do what they have to do in-house as far as extending people, they can clear up cap space. And that frees you to sign anybody that you want to in free agency next year. But that's just my opinion. I think, there'll be a couple of pass rushers. I'm thinking Shaq Barrett probably will be free next year. I don't think he's that good. I think he had one really good year, so prove it to me again. But there will be options for us, and there will be options in the draft. And maybe someone this year breaks out for us. But as far as those two guys, they cost too much. And Clowney is just not a one-year deal. You guys got to realize, if you pay him for this year, you're taking away money that could be rolled over in the next year. So guys, give me your thoughts on this. Diggy546, I'm out.